Hi everyone, I am doing community Vlogmas and I have 3 doctor's appointments today. So there's no way I'm going to have time to record and edit this, but I really wanted to join in on Annie's community Vlogmas. Annie always has such provoking things, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I have a kitten who I've tried to make be quiet, but he's not going to do that. So today's prompt for Vlogmas is, what are your greatest accomplishments in life? And I really had to take some time this morning to think about that, because it's easy to say that my greatest accomplishment is my daughter, but she's still in her formidable years. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm not going to count that chicken quite yet. I would say that my greatest accomplishment isn't really an accomplishment of my own, but one that I kind of spearheaded. Well, the one that I'm going to talk about first. So when I was in high school, I was really active in Air Force ROTC. And one of the things that was happening at that time period were soldiers going into Iraq, Afghanistan. And what would happen is the soldiers would do sweeps and the children would be afraid because, of course, these big guys come barely in their house, all swatted up for all intents and purposes. And there was an organization or a project then called Project Comfort. And what happened is people would donate stuffed animals, and the soldiers would take the stuffed animals in when they would do sweeps, and they would give the children the stuffed animals. And at the time, I was a junior in high school. Now, during this time, it became way bigger than I had anticipated. It became so big that we got so many donations that Project Comfort couldn't take them all. And so the local highway patrol took some of the homeless shelters took some. And for me, it was such a proud moment because it had become way bigger than I originally anticipated. Originally, I anticipated the 160 cadets that I worked with on a day-to-day basis, and some of their families to become involved. And it grew to an entire northeastern state thing. The whole northeast part of the state kind of jumped in. And it was really inspiring to me to see what one little project for one little person could do. The next one that comes to mind is my junior year going into my senior year. I was in the advanced program, and there wasn't a whole lot for me to do in an inner city school. And so a friend of mine got together with me, and we created something called Senior Seminar. And basically, we found instructors throughout the community to come in and teach about things like film noir and birth order and just things that interest us. So we took this giant poll and we're like, okay, what are the things that interest you? And then we basically found people to teach classes about that, which is probably why it has fostered such a love of education and continuous learning for me. And then I think learning natural medicine and getting my Reiki certification is a huge accomplishment for me as well. And then my work on history. So I have a lot to live up to as far as history goes, because both my mother and my grandmother were huge history proponents, and my mother, I think my grandmother is too, were honored at the Smithsonian for their research in Bleeding, Kansas. For those of you who don't know what Bleeding, Kansas is, in 1850-ish, 1860. I'm going to have to look it up after this and put it in the description afterwards. Kansas was kind of going through a lot of turmoil with Missouri as to whether to be a free state or a slave state. And that kind of sparked the Civil War. And that's a huge thing in my family. I remember growing up learning about John Brown. And so when my grandmother passed, I posted this long thing about, history and Bleeding Kansas and what that meant to me. And it was featured in an article in our local paper. And for me, it was just confirmation that the things that I've learned and the things that have wiggled their way into the deep depths of my brain, still influence other people and still have an effect in a way that I didn't necessarily anticipate. And I think for me, my greatest achievement always is having the knowledge that I have, being able to pass that to someone else, and them getting like joy and fulfillment out of that knowledge, and they then pass it on as well. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I will probably do a live. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow too, but I will probably do a live tomorrow to do day 4 of Community Vlogmas. Until then, I will see you guys here in the wilderness.